Or we've already like pre-said so much great stuff,
I know.
and I want it all here for our listening audience.
Okay.
It's so good. So thank you. My friend Teresa is here today with me. And Teresa and I met a long time ago in her old neighborhood, still my current neighborhood, through, I don't know, like ladies groups or
it might have been Bunko. It might have been a Pampered Chef party. I don't know. Yeah.
Right.
Probably. Yeah. Probably a Bunko or something.
Maybe Bunko. And I know that you are winding down your career as Pampered Chef. So I don't want to introduce you as the queen and then start a new influx of people reaching out to you.
That's okay.
But it's been a wonderful career for you. And
30 years.
Just amazing, and served you very well, and brought a lot of opportunities to meet people.
Yeah, I have met a lot of people.
Yes, and they all have your phone number.
Yes, they do. Yeah, I'm still wrestling with all that, because I'd like to be of help to people. Right. But my reality is I can't be, because I won't have access to any of my records once I'm gone. But
right.
Yeah, you can edit all this out.
If you know Teresa from Pampered Chef, she is phasing out and is handing off her book of business to other reps. So there's a transitional period here where she is connecting people.
Right.
But then it's time for a change. So I'm so glad you're here. And what we're talking about today and connecting on is, I think, really important and everywhere. And I think it's just going to resonate and stick with a lot of people. And we're talking about our experiences as caregivers, and then our relationships with alcohol and changing that relationship with alcohol. So if you just want to start from the beginning, maybe about where you have been with your relationship with alcohol, and then it'll organically flow into the caregiver experience.
Probably. Well, like most people, I will be 60 in December. And like most people, I drank when I was young. And I think I kind of realized way back then that I wouldn't say I had a problem, but my problem was when I drank, I always drank too much. But I didn't drink all the time. There was a lot of times I'd even go out and not drink. And but I kind of knew there was anything. And then I got into a relationship with somebody who did have an alcohol problem, went to rehab. And so for 17 years, I didn't drink at all.
So he went to rehab, or you went to rehab?
He went to rehab.
He went to rehab.
And in loyalty to him and deference to that and supporting him, I didn't drink for 17 years and didn't even really think about it. It wasn't really like I didn't struggle with that. I just didn't, because that, I was supporting him and I loved him and I wanted that, to be the thing. And then he did start drinking again, and that went bad, and very bad. And so we are no longer married. And then I believed the lie that, well, I can drink again. And I didn't have a problem. And I didn't for a long time. And for a long time, my current husband, Terry, who's the most wonderful person on the planet, really doesn't, he'll have a drink now and then, but he didn't really drink a lot when I married him. And I didn't drink really almost at all when I married him. And, but then I did sort of start playing with that. Well, I don't have a problem, and I can have a glass of wine or whatever. And that was fine for quite a while. And I sort of had this rule when we got married. I said, if I ever say I have to have a drink, I'm upset I have to have a drink, that's when I can't have a drink. I knew that. And again, it wasn't really an issue for him. And we never had alcohol in the house. And then his mom had a stroke, and we were only married probably 2 years when that happened. So we sort of still consider ourselves newlyweds. And for those of you that do know me and know my story, I married him after 5.5 months of knowing him long distance. because his late wife was a friend of mine, and she said I should get to know him and marry him, and so I did.
Oh my gosh.
Making light of that, but I mean, it was all God's perfect plan, and we're going on 18 years.
Wow.
But so when his mom had to move in with us pretty abruptly, it was like, okay, she can't go back home, and I said, well, let's move her in with us. And so we did. And that sort of started, I don't want to say the beginning of the end, but that sort of started what I would call a bad habit and a bad coping mechanism. Because she was a wonderful lady. But if anybody is in the caregiver, and I know you support a lot of people with that, I just want everybody out there to hear, we get it. It's a lot. And it really turned our world upside down. And, his kids were, Chelsea was done with high school and getting married, and his son was already out of the house. And so we were sort of empty nesters and sort of trying to find our way in this new relationship, and, going out with friends and going dancing and doing all this stuff. And all of a sudden it was like, boom, nothing, because she couldn't be alone. For many months, she needed 24-hour care. And so we had somebody in our house. That was probably maybe only a month, all night long, because we were both working and had to sleep. And all of a sudden we went nowhere, and we did nothing. And a lot of our friends did drink. And so we started keeping alcohol in the house because we deserved it. And we were stressed out and overworked, and, or gosh darn it, it's not fair. And so that turned into a coping mechanism for both of us. And it just did that slow fade for us, the slow creep in for alcohol, where it became more and more. And I wouldn't say it was right away. I mean, it took time. I mean, and that's the thing about alcohol. And some people may disagree with me, but I believe that there's nobody that is immune to being addicted to alcohol. It's not, I mean, I know there's people that say, oh, well, I can take it or leave it. Well, if you take it enough, you will be addicted to alcohol.
Yeah.
And it doesn't happen overnight, So that kind of went on for, I don't know how many years. And, and then she did get better, and then we could go out, and I don't know, it just slowly crept into our lives and became this habit. And then it was hard to not have the habit, So.
And I think you hit on that point of deserving. And I think when you are exhausting so much emotional labor and physical attention and labor to helping somebody else, there is a sense of entitlement because nobody else is stepping up to do
Right.
it.
There was no one else. Right.
Right. And the slowness of it, I think it's so hard to see it. Like, because we're taking it day by day.
Right. It's the frog in the pot of boiling water,
So good. Yeah.
It's that story, you put the frog in the water when it's cold, and you slowly turn up the heat, and it doesn't even know it's boiling to death. And that's exactly what it was.
That's sort of the same with caregiving in general.
Absolutely.
I mean, there was a specific incident that caused the need for an immediate big shift in the family, but then it's like this, the weight of it, I think, is the frog.
Right. And it builds, because when you're in a caregiving situation, again, it depends. I'm going to talk specifically elder care.
Yeah.
She, I couldn't even tell you the dates and everything, but she was probably in her late 70s, early 80s or whatever. And then she died at almost 90. And it was that, so when you're caring for an elder person, you keep thinking, well, she's going to get better.
Right. Yeah.
She doesn't get better. They get worse. Yeah. And it may not be a disease worse thing, but it's like, wow, she's kind of acting like a surly 15-year-old. And now she's acting sort of like a clueless 10-year-old. And now she's acting like a bratty 5-year-old.
Right.
It wasn't getting better. And it was getting more and more and more. And like you said, the weight of all of that.
Yeah.
It just gets heavier and heavier, and you don't even realize it's happening because it's so slow and it's so gradual.
Right.
and the
And we,
powerlessness of
oh
it.
my gosh. Yeah. Well, and we know it takes quite a while to break a habit, but it feels like it's super easy to slide into a bad habit pretty quickly.
Yep, I
And
agree.
did you
But
feel like at the time you just, again, you're just like making it through your day, so you don't even realize like, okay, well, now we've had wine with dinner every night this week.
right. Well, yeah, and that, golly, that's probably kind of how it started. And then it was like, he'd have a martini and I'd have, two. And I remember way back in the day saying, being around other people and going, oh my gosh, I could never drink a bottle of wine in one sitting. Oh my
Right.
gosh, how does this person do that?
Right.
And then, I mean, at the end, it was like, where did that bottle of wine go?
Right. Or this is my bottle of wine. You go get your own.
Well, yes, there's all of that stuff that goes along with it. That's really getting into it. But yeah, I mean, it was just like all of a sudden, then it became a thing, and we never really like went out and drank. It was more of
Right.
an at-home thing. People over for cards or just, and then it became not a social thing. It was an every night thing,
Right.
And you kind of started off with, and I don't know who your audience is going to be today, but I kind of call it that that secret social thing. I mean, no, most of the people, if anybody I know is watching this, there is a handful of people that know, oh yeah, she had, I mean, because I would say, you guys, I got a problem with that. I mean, my very, very close friends, my Bible study people, they knew that I knew I had a problem with it, but most of the people that know me, like all of these customers that might be watching this, I mean, they didn't know that when they left my house after a party, or I left their house after a party, I was looking forward to a couple glasses of wine every night, and it becomes, and then it becomes this thing that people joke about, oh, it's 5 o'clock somewhere, and
Right.
mommy's special juice, and all of the jokes that people make about it. But I've come to find out that those are mostly the people that really wish they didn't drink as much as they do.
Right.
Is the people that joke about it, and
Yeah.
there's so many people that struggle with it. I know.
Well, and so this is really important, just as people are listening, like Teresa and I are not in judgment of anybody and their path or journey. And I think that we've all individually are having our own experience, and we have our individual, it's kind of a scale, like
Yep.
where we feel like, well, if we fit within these parameters, then we're fine. Or if we start to dip into another level of drinking or type of drinking or time of drinking, I think everybody has their own scale. So what I'm saying is for someone to hear you say, people wouldn't realize that I felt like I had a problem. And then to follow it with, I was drinking a couple glasses of wine after people left. I think that's normal for a lot of people, and they do not feel like they have a problem. And that's your path. But for me, it turned it like evolved into the whole bottle, and then it was like the
Me
whole
too.
bottle plus a couple beers. And then I started to feel like curious, like, is this normal? So we're just inviting people to be curious, and if they feel like they're in a good place, there's nothing to look at.
Absolutely. And that's a really good point, because I felt like it wasn't normal. I mean, I remember saying, this is not normal. Those are the
Yeah.
exact words I use. People don't, now there are a lot of people that drink every single day.
Yeah.
And everybody's journey is different. Everybody has to, decide, is this too much for me? So one of the, I think the scales that you could like use to ask yourself, is this okay? Is this normal? If you went to the doctor and he said, how much alcohol do you drink? Would you be absolutely honest? Would you say, well, I drink a bottle of wine, and sometimes I'll have another couple of ounces of my husband's vodka because I'm making him a drink, and I'll just slip that into my LaCroix, and would you tell him that?
Right.
I mean, and if you wouldn't, maybe you need to explore that a little deeper, you
Right,
know?
be curious.
I mean, I actually know somebody who for a very, very long time, not anymore, would have one glass of wine every single night. Never a problem, never more.
Mhm.
But every single night, you have one glass of wine. And it was like, it was like, that's the other thing. You know, you start buying bigger wine glasses.
Right, bigger glasses.
Right, because it's only one glass, you know, and pour. I mean, I remember being at a restaurant and getting a glass of wine, and it was $12, and they'd bring this glass of wine that had
Right,
5 ounces of wine in it, which is a normal pour of wine, you know,
yeah.
is 5 ounces usually.
They should put it in a smaller glass because you
They should
definitely
put it
feel
in a
ripped. You definitely feel ripped off.
Because you felt ripped off and you felt
Yeah.
cheated, and then you started feeling a little anxious, you know, about the fact that that's such a small glass of wine, and
Right.
you know, and those were the things that started. I think, I just felt like I don't think people drink every night, you know, I don't think people do that. And then when it became like it wasn't 2 glasses of wine, you know, and it became the bottle of wine. And again, you could even be around me and not know that I drank that much. But again, there's people that were very close to me that it was like, oh my gosh, Teresa, you are fine. And then you're not. I mean, it was just like a split second thing that it was from boy, I didn't even really realize you were drinking to whoa, you know.
Right.
So, but I had a small circle that I would ever let my guard down and do that. You know, there's so many little things you could explore about yourself, but you're right. It's everybody's journey has to be their own, and being authentic with yourself and showing up to be the best you can be to yourself. I think is the number one thing. And when I decided to quit, my husband will still have a drink now and then, but it is few and far between, and it doesn't bother me in the least. At this point, it was difficult in the beginning, and he was completely supportive, but I just said, you know, I need to do this for me, and I'm going to be selfish, and I'm going to take care of me, and I'm going to do what I got to do. And so if I needed at 2:00 to go lay down and take a nap, or listen to a podcast, or just do some meditation music, if I had to go to bed at 8 o'clock at night, that's what I did. And I really had to take care of me. And that's a big caregiver thing. Caregivers don't take care of themselves.
That's right.
And that's not okay either, you know. I mean, whether it's with alcohol or whatever, you know, not going to the doctor, not doing all of not eating right, not exercising, not taking time for yourself. You got to take care of you first, you know.
Well, and it's interesting because the framework is that it's selfish to do that, is how you worded it. But the reality is it's the only way. Like, we have to take care of ourselves. Oprah talks about this where people will say, "Ooh, you're so full of yourself. You're so full of yourself." And she's like, "Yes, I am full of myself. Like, I have to be completely full so that I can give."
So that you can give.
Right.
Right. It's huge.
Yeah. No, it is huge.
And I guess I told him I'm going to be selfish because, and I've talked to a couple of gals lately, you know, like, well, I don't think I can stop drinking because my husband really wants to have a drink out on the patio in the evening, and that's our wind down time, and that's our talk time. And I would say to him, I don't care if you have a martini, don't ask me to make it for you. You know, so it was things like, I need to go to bed at 8. Sometimes I just have to go to bed because for me, I don't eat in my bedroom. I don't drink in my bedroom. Yeah. My bedroom is for sleeping. I don't have a TV in my bedroom. I need to go do that. And it was self-preservation because he would like me to sit up and watch TV with him. Right. Now I can be sound asleep on the couch next to him, but I'm next to him on the couch. And so for me, that was saying, these are things I'm not going to do that I normally do to please you, right? Because I have to take care of me, and that's okay. And yeah,
no, totally. I mean, it totally interweaves with. I talk a lot about our love languages, and if quality time or acts of service is the love language of your partner, and so that is how you're showing them and they're receiving love, is because spending that quality time, you know, then it is It is a change, and things shifted with my husband and me as well, because that Sunday night, prep dinner time or the fire pit or the driveway drinking, all of that stuff went away
Right.
and it was a hurdle to get over, so we could figure out how we were going to interact in this new way together.
Right. And it's important to realize, and that's okay. You will find
Yeah.
other ways. I mean, you end up building these rituals around alcohol that you can rebuild. I mean, it's like you say the fire pit, it's like, well, can we sit at the fire pit and not drink alcohol?
Right. Have a bubbly.
What? We used to do, I don't know what they're called. We called it the crack box because it's addictive, but you'd go to Roman Coin, the pizza place next to it. I can't think of it.
I can't
Okay.
think of it.
They had the box on the bar and you put the dollar in and you play word games and you play these games.
Oh, Keno.
Well, it's not Keno. It's just this electronic box. Mega,
okay.
Whatever. Some people know what I'm talking about. It's a touch screen and you do word games and you can do puzzles and all this. And we would go and we would do that. That was like one of our outlets when we were able to leave the house. It was very close to home. We didn't have to drive very far. We could drive not on a highway, listen to all the justifications. We would drive after drinking, but it was back roads and it was safe driving. And drinking.
Yeah.
There's an oxymoron for you. But I mean, we didn't drink a ton there, but that was one of our things, was going to do that. Well, we don't do that anymore because that was a thing that was literally built around drinking.
Right.
Totally. But I will tell you, after it's only a year for me, but I say only, and I never thought a year ago I would ever say that I've been sober for over a year, but there's just things that aren't as appealing to do anymore, even though those are things we did. There are other things that I thought, like music trivia down at Twisted Vine, oh my gosh, that's just such a blast. I have done that now 2 or 3 times with no alcohol, and I had just as much fun.
Right.
And I probably played a little better than most of the people. It's always the thing, you drank when you went bowling, and now well, we bowled on a daytime league this last time, so it wasn't a big deal, but I didn't drink when I was bowling, and oh my gosh, I could watch other people's games just go down and I was still bowling just fine. So, I mean, there are things that maybe you think you have to drink around and you really don't. But that may be higher level, that may be down the road. It's hard to believe that when you're in the middle of it.
It is hard to believe it. Do you recall there being like a tipping point with your mother-in-law, because she's in the house and you're finding this new routine with her there, and then you're getting to the point where you can get out for just like little periods of time? Like, what was that pivotal time? Can you recall that you said,
what do you mean?
I think I'm done. I think I'm done drinking, like, or what happened?
Oh, it was long after that. I mean, this was a 10-year journey, probably.
Yeah.
And it was probably the last 5 years, embarrassingly, like 5 years, that I'm like, okay, I got to be done. Maybe I would, we watched some show and like, I don't even remember how the show ended, type of thing, which you can say whatever you want, but that's blacking out. Those are blackouts, that when you can't remember, and that scared me. And I'm like, okay, I need to be done. But that was years after she was with us, because I mean, she'd go to bed early, and then we'd watch TV. And once she was well enough, we could leave in the evening, but never super long.
She moved to senior living.
Yes.
But so then you're navigating all of that stress.
Right. Way different. Yeah, that was a whole different part of it. So once she moved, because believe it or not, she wanted to move to assisted living because she had friends there, because she had been going to daycare. And we really struggled with that. No, you don't need to do that. We love taking care of you here. And why would you want to do that? And you're too healthy to do that. And she probably worked on us for about a year. And so we went and looked, and of course they had a unit right across the hall from her little Japanese friend. And but then we went through the calling us at all hours and saying, when do I get to come home?
Right.
And I mean, that was a lot of emotional stuff. Once she moved out, it was really emotional because now you didn't think about it. You got up in the morning and she was there and you ate breakfast and you just saw her. Now it was I have to fit this into my routine. I have to make sure I go and see her every day, or every other day. And she was so confused, even though she wanted to move there.
Right.
As the dementia got worse, she'd call us and say, when are you going to come and get me? When do I get to come home? Why are you making me be here?
Oh,
and we're like, I know.
my
And it
God.
would just be like devastated. And then you'd be explaining to her, and then you'd say the stupid thing like, well, don't you remember you wanted to move there? Well, no, she doesn't remember.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's a word you just need to take out of your vocabulary. Remember?
Sure.
So that was really, because so then we got to bring some guilt into the whole thing, because now we're thinking she's not happy there.
Right.
But and at that point we really knew we really couldn't there's so much, we jokingly say, although it's very true, Terry's like, I do not want to see my mom naked. I don't want to.
Right. Yeah.
I don't want to have to shower her. And really there comes a point, if anybody's listening that's in this thing where it's like, when do you decide that you just can't do it anymore? We either needed to bring in help, or she needed to live there, and she wanted to live there, so we got off really easy. But so thinking about bringing her home, we would have had to have help at home. And
Right.
for her, the routine of being there with these same people and all of that was better than bringing her home and having different people coming in all the time and all that. Because I mean, there's bathing and all of that stuff was just, that's a lot, to do.
It is a lot. And you mentioned that she was across the hall from her Japanese friend. She was Japanese as well.
Yes.
Yes. So that was a nice cultural connection for her.
Yep.
To have.
Yeah. They said, we put her on the waiting list thinking, oh, it'll be like a year, they're hard to get into. And they called us like 2 weeks later. We have an apartment available. And we're like, no, it's too soon. Well, just come see it. You've never even seen one. And as we're walking down the hall, we said, wouldn't it be crazy if it was like right next door to her friend?
Yeah.
And it was right across the hall. And we're like, okay, Lord, she's been begging for this for like a year and a half. Okay.
Right.
And it was good. And it was good for her because she got to have a little bit more independence than here, because we were really trying to do all of the stuff, make her exercise, make her eat, not let her sleep all day. And finally, and it was not right away, but finally we decided we're not going to do that. This is her life, and it's probably the end of her life, and we're going to try and quit making her do things that she doesn't want to do. Mm-hmm. And if she wants to eat donuts for dinner, we're going to let her eat donuts for dinner, and we just, and then everybody's life got easier. She wasn't fighting with us, we weren't fighting with her, and it was just, the last couple of years were a lot nicer, not trying to make her, not treating her like a 5-year-old,
So that's when she was in the community, assisted living community, like as family caregivers, we're still having a lot of expectations and demands on the resident, what activities they shouldn't be participating in, what they should be eating, what should be happening. And it's really stressful on the resident and you a lot, and then the staff.
Right.
So now you're in battle with the staff about, well, why
is she taking a nap again?
Right. So
she wants to.
Right. So it sounds like once you released some of that, there was just a lot more peace for you.
Yes.
Process.
She probably always felt like she was letting us down. And I think she also always felt like, I don't know, there was times where she was just so with it, and then there were times where she really wasn't. And when she was with it, she would in her little head, she would scheme and connive and figure out how she could get what she wanted. And that probably wasn't fun for her either, is constantly thinking, how am I going to beat the system? So yeah, it was nicer when we just, and she could, everybody loved her.
And then the stress of that kind of just carried through with the glasses of wine at home or going out and just,
Yep.
that was our
Yeah.
decompression.
It was decompression.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that was the biggest excuse we held on to. For me, that was the biggest thing was I'm tired, I'm overworked, I'm stressed. Mitzi was a pill today or whatever, I mean, but those are truly, I believe they start out as, okay, we don't have all day, but the lies of alcohol are, they will make you feel less stressed. They will, help you. Those are all the lies of alcohol.
Mhm.
And in the beginning, we believe those things because, you do get a little relaxing feeling and everything. But the reality is it doesn't really change anything at all in your situation,
And it feeds depression.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. I mean, alcohol is a depressant,
Right.
And if you're already dealing with that, the last thing you want to do is add alcohol in the equation, but it's the number one thing that people do.
Right.
Is they add alcohol into the equation.
Right.
So, once you establish the habit that, oh, this is what I need in order to relax, this is what I need in order to decompress, then you start believing all that and you just keep doing it. And the reality is the stress doesn't go away. Nothing changes, right? The stress is still there. You just feel like crap in the morning.
Right.
But every single thing that happened the day before is still there. Not a single thing changed between the night that you drank all the wine and the morning that you got up and had to deal with it again.
Right.
It's all still there. So then what do? Now we're even more stressed because, well, darn it, the magic fairy didn't come and make this all better in the middle of the night when I was passed out in bed. And now, it just becomes this circular thing.
Right.
And again, it just gets worse.
Well, and you and I were talking about previously, people would say to me, oh, well, I don't drink. I don't have a problem with drinking, but their physiology, clearly physically, they're 50 to 100 pounds overweight. So maybe it's not alcohol, maybe it's food or something else that, so if people are hearing this and saying, well, I just don't have that problem. Like I'm listening because I'm hearing the caregiver journey piece, but I just don't have the problem. Take alcohol off the table and just take a look at what it is that you're substituting to help alleviate the stress.
Right.
And is it worth your
Food,
attention?
pornography, gambling.
Right.
I mean, it can literally be anything to become an addiction or an idol. You might even not call it an addiction, but something that you give a lot of importance to that you believe is helping you, when probably it's not. Probably sugar, alcohol, sugar, food, whatever, carbs, comfort food. Those are the big one for women. For men, a lot of times it's pornography, and I've had experience with that. I mean, it's the same. It's all the same. It's whatever we do to bury that pain and that hurt and that stress. It's all the same.
It's all the same.
Taking care of an adult who is acting like a child, it's rough.
Yeah.
Especially if you're that person. Like my husband was like, I never thought I was going to be the one that was going to end up taking care of my mom. Well, his sister passed away like 5 years before his mom did.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, she was just a few years old, 3 years older than Terry. And we were already taking care of Mitzi at that point, but I mean, he just never assumed he was going to be the one that stepped up. I will say for all of you out there, it's worth it. I mean, we were just talking last night. I miss Mitzi. I mean, there's just things that you think of that you're like, oh, I miss her,
Right.
So yeah. And that'll always be there, but she had a good life. But yeah, I don't regret any of the minutes that we did take care of her.
Right.
But it's okay to admit this is not easy.
Or what we're doing isn't working, and it's time to shift gears and figure out what's next.
Right. I think a lot of people feel guilty because they feel that they shouldn't have feelings about taking care of their parent. Mm-hmm. Oh, I should enjoy this. It should be my honor. And the reality is it's hard. And you didn't grow up thinking, well, someday I'm going to take care of my elderly mother. And, and so I think a lot of people have guilt about not feeling happy that they're taking care of their elder parent, and they shouldn't, because, you didn't plan it. We don't all think, although I think a lot of more people in our age group now are realizing this is probably going to happen, because we've all seen our friends taking care of their parents. And I've had a couple of friends say, man, if it wasn't for being with you and Terry when you went through all this stuff with his mom, I wouldn't have been able to do all this stuff with my dad.
Yes.
And so, no matter where you are on that, if you're on the caregiver journey, you have a lot of opportunity to help other people see this is what it can be like. And it's okay to be authentic and say, man, I wanted to kill her today. I mean, I'm sure there's some people that are going to be doing thumbs up right now.
Yes.
Sometimes you just are like, oh my gosh, what is happening here?
Yeah.
And then you love them. They're like children. It literally is watching your parent become a child.
Right.
And you can't help but love them through that. So,
well, and at the end, I was speaking with someone who's going to be transitioning jobs, and you want to end well. And I think that can be really a struggle when it's been such a marathon. I mean, you're talking about a decade that you were involved in some way in her care and support. And so,
right.
Especially if you are in the home stretch of this, just really honoring what you need, what for yourself to take care of yourself so that you can see this thing through, and then bringing in those resources, because it is a marathon and people have terrible feelings of guilt and regret after someone passes because of maybe how something was handled.
Right. That's true. I'll tell you, I wish I would have explored resources more when we were going through this. I mean, I did a little bit and it was really helpful, but I think a lot of people are just going it alone and not knowing that there are support groups. I mean, you run some things that would have been so helpful to not go through some of the mental gymnastics that we go through.
Right.
And you feel guilty and you feel, resentful and, well, I can't do this. I mean, oh my gosh, we missed I don't know how many vacations that our friends were on, because she was in the hospital or,
right.
I mean, there's just so much of that. And then you feel, it's okay. I mean, to feel those things. And it would have been nice for somebody to say, because then you feel bad. And then you feel angry, and then you feel bad that you feel angry.
Right. Yeah.
You get into, and then you go drink a bottle of wine.
Right. So. And then you feel physically bad and emotionally bad, and nothing has changed.
Nothing has changed. Now you just have a hangover. Right. And whatever, a couple years down the road, you've gained 15 pounds, and now you hit yourself on this whole other level.
Yeah, it feeds it. So it was like a 5-year shift of thinking it through, like, okay, I think I need to be done drinking again, but you were still on the caregiver journey. And right. Did she pass away? And then you were like, okay, enough's enough. And yeah, how did you do it? Like, what did you do? What resources did you use?
I probably started before she passed away. And honestly, I think I told you this, one of the realities was, as she was getting worse, we'd get a call at 2 a.m. or something. And one day I was like, I can't be drunk if I have to go there at 2 a.m, that's not okay, And so when she actually passed away, I was on one of my sober stints. And so I started, she passed away in May of 20, not of COVID. And it's 22. And I probably started about a year, so I probably started, well, actually during COVID, I hardly drank at all during COVID at home. And I don't know if that was I'm kind of one of those people, if I set a goal, it's why I've done so well with my business. And I'm really on it, I'm going to be on it and I'm going to do it. And probably that was one of those times where I'm like, I'm going to be done. And it was kind of easy because you weren't really going to the store that much. You certainly weren't seeing anybody else.
Bars were
I
closed.
was ridiculously busy with my business. I mean, that was the weirdest thing ever. I mean, I like tripled my business during COVID because nobody had anything to do but cook at home.
Right.
That was crazy. So I think that was probably part of it. And then what would happen to me, and I don't know if this is true for other people, was I would go on a tear and then I would believe, okay, I'm past this. I can safely have a glass of wine with dinner. And that for me, that was never the case. So I started with, I am not an AA. For those of you that works for, God bless you. I think that's great. It was not for me. I won't even waste time going on all the reasons why it wasn't for me. But I'm not going to walk around and say I'm an alcoholic. It's not who I am. I'm a child of God. And that is how I identify myself.
Yeah.
And so constantly having to walk around saying that and remembering that and drilling it into my head was just not for me, because I don't even think about it anymore, hardly at all. I hardly ever think about drinking anymore. So I think I started with a book that Annie Grace wrote called, help me out here. Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
Annie Grace. I know. I'm sorry.
And my phone's in the other room. I can't even Google it.
Okay. You look up Annie Grace. You won't be able to miss it. And it'll probably come to me as we're talking.
I'll put it in the show notes for sure.
Yeah. Well, you can put it in the comments or whatever.
Yeah.
And I am an audiobook person. Because I'm busy, I hardly ever sit down to read a book. And my other reality is if I sit down to read a book, I'm probably going to fall asleep.
Okay.
So I listen when I'm walking, I listen when I'm on the treadmill, I listen while I'm cooking. I listen to books all the time. And so I listened to her book and it was just mind blowing. It was like she was reading my story, everything she was saying. I'm like, that's me, and how does she know that? And then I realized, okay, apparently I'm not that unique, because everything she talked about in the book was exactly where I was on my alcohol journey. You think you have it under control, and then pretty soon, oh gosh, I don't have it under control. Then you feel bad, and you feel, but you keep thinking, I can't do this. I can't even imagine my life without alcohol. And you you go through all this mental stuff. And so I'd probably listen. And she talks about how you don't even have to quit while you're reading this book, but you need to get this all in your head. This Naked Mind is the name of the book. This Naked Mind. Naked Mind.
Okay.
Because honestly, this journey is so mental. The absolute physical truth is alcohol is out of your body. It's out of your system in 10 to 14 days. If you can go that far, after that, it's all a mental game. And so I listened, and so I'd go 3 weeks and then I'd start again. And that went on for a while. And then what would happen to me is I would get to what I called the hopeless stage. And I'd be like, I'm never going to be done with this. I'm not even going to try. I don't feel like trying right now.
Right.
Because it was a lot of hard work. You have to learn about it and you have to really work at it. And I would be like, I don't even want to work at it. I just don't even care. I don't care. And then and she recommended Craig Beck's material, which is Alcohol Lied to Me, which I loved Annie's book and it got me here, and Craig Beck's stuff got me the rest of the way. Over a year, I think it was, of listening to the book over and over. And I didn't listen to every chapter every time, but I don't know how many ex-smokers are out there. But if you've gotten over cigarettes, you are probably at that place where you say, why would I ever pick up another cigarette? They cause cancer. They're going to kill me. They're disgusting. I smell bad. The taste, all of those things. It's the same thing with alcohol. If you learn enough about it, you will go, oh my gosh. Same thing with sugar. If you learn all of the horrible things that refined sugar actually does, and again, this is a whole other subject, but I mean, look at kids from the 1960s running around in their yards playing, and look at kids now, and you can just see the difference in their body types and all that stuff. It's because we have so much refined sugar. So when you learn about that, I remember telling you, I would no more drink a Pepsi right now than I would drink a quart of motor oil, because I know how bad soda, full-on sugar soda is for you. I just couldn't even imagine drinking it. And when I learned a lot about alcohol, it changes your mindset. You wouldn't drink motor oil. You wouldn't take. Craig Beck talks a lot about, he compares it to heroin, and it is alcohol, believe it or not, is just as addictive as heroin is. And but alcohol is the acceptable thing.
Right.
But all of my friends drink, and I go to the pool party and everybody's drinking, and it's an okay thing because everybody else is doing it. You wouldn't say, hey, I'm going to go get a hit of heroin. You want to go with me? People would be like, what? It's insane, right? And it's kind of the same thing. So his book really got me really past it. And then I think I kind of fell off again. I went back to the book, and I started watching his podcasts and listening to his stuff on YouTube. And a lot of it was just stuff from the book. And then he's got a whole program, and it's wildly expensive, but I don't know. I found, just through research and sticking with it and listening to his stuff, I found a deal that for me, I thought I'm worth that investment. And I honestly don't even want to tell you what I paid for it, because I can't remember, but it was not thousands of dollars. I mean, it wasn't even hundreds of dollars. But I had access to his hypnosis, MP3 things, and a Facebook group and stuff like that. And those were really helpful to me. And as a Christian, I've always been like, hypnosis, is that okay? It's really just relaxing and filling your mind with the right stuff, and those were really helpful to me. And again, that was that I felt a little anxious, and you start to learn to figure out, okay, I'm feeling stressed right now. Okay, what is this about? Okay, I'm gonna go decompress, and decompressing in a healthy way.
Right.
Instead of saying, I have to have a drink. I gotta have a drink. And boy, the other thing, this is gonna sound crazy, I kind of quit watching a lot of the TV that I was watching, because, and if anybody is on the journey where you're starting to wonder, is this something I should look at? Start watching television and noticing every single show they're drinking alcohol.
Yeah.
And 30 years ago, 20 years ago, you would never have seen a gal sitting on her couch drinking wine by herself. You never would have seen it. One of the things in an AA quiz is, do you drink alone? That's one of the questions, the old AA test or whatever, do you have a drinking problem? Do you drink alone?
Right.
Nowadays, every character, they sit down by themselves and they're drinking a bottle of wine.
Right. That's such a great point. And to that point, I miss the show Friends. And that was one of the things that was really a standout for me, is they met in a coffee shop, not at the bar. And very, very rarely were they drinking or portrayed as drunk in the whole run of that show. They were always just hanging out in the apartments.
You're absolutely right. I didn't even realize that. And they met at a coffee shop.
They were at the diner.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, but nowadays, I mean, it doesn't even matter what show it is. Yeah. There's alcohol involved. So that might be something that you would say, hey, I need to just kind of, if that tempts you, now I'm at a place where it makes me sad. Yeah. Where I see it and I I just feel bad because I know how many people struggle with it and they normalize it so much.
Right.
So Craig Beck stuff, Annie Grace's stuff was just really transformational for me. There's another thing out there and it's really weird. I still use it when I play pickleball, not having anything to do with drinking, but I still do it, is tapping therapy. And it really does work. So Google tapping therapy
Yeah.
and people
That
will,
like this stuff.
yep,
Yeah.
yep, that hand.
Yeah.
And it does something to read about it. It does something to your central nervous system that just kind of does this little reset. And I know it sounds weird, but I had been in restaurants with people sitting there thinking everybody's having a glass of wine. And I'm feeling, because these are the other feelings. Something's wrong with me. I'm missing out. I can't. And I had to, and I know we talked about this. I am the type of person, I don't want to say I can't. I don't want to say I can't have wine. I can't have candy. I can have it, but I'm choosing not to have it.
Right.
You know, honoring me, I'm choosing not to have wine. But I mean, I could sit there and do this or on my wrist and nobody would notice it.
Right.
And it really did work. And so on the pickleball court, I will double tap my shoulder or double tap my hip just to get myself recentered before my next shot or something.
Right.
So Google tapping therapy. It might be something if you find yourself one of those anxious people.
Yeah.
And
occupational therapists use tapping as well.
Okay.
Is what I've been told.
Okay, I bet that's true.
But yeah,
I bet it's true.
Well, I know because an occupational therapist, my daughter was having sensory issues with her hands with paper.
Yep.
She's still not a fan, but anyway, the therapist was having her write cursive and then doing a lot of padding and tapping. Yeah. Yeah. So really interesting. So what do you feel like has changed? Like what has kind of, since you have not been drinking, you call yourself sober, like what has cracked open for you?
Well,
why is it worth it? Why should anyone,
oh my gosh,
especially if they're in the thick of it with their person?
Well, unless you're like super wealthy, I was spending about $400 a week. I mean, a month. Wow, that was really bad. A month on alcohol. $8 bottle of wine. I didn't buy expensive wine, but I didn't buy $2 wine. I mean, even I didn't like $2 Chuck. I'm sorry.
Right.
Even I couldn't justify that. But $8 or $9 for a bottle of wine plus the taxes. You look, it's on sale for $8.99, but it's really like a $9.50 bottle of wine by the time all the taxes are on it and all that. One a day. Well, that's $70 right there just in 1 week. Not counting maybe a bottle of vodka for Carrie that's going to last a week. And then whatever else I'm adding in because, the bottle of wine isn't enough anymore, type of thing. Or if you're going it added up to about $400 a month in alcohol. And I would ask myself, gosh, that's a lot of money over the course of a year. What is that in a year? Like $5,500 or something. That's a pretty nice vacation. That's a really nice vacation. Where could you go on vacation with $5,000? Right. So for me, that was huge. I just the money alone that I'm not spending. I should buy stock in LaCroix and bubbly, but because I drink way too much of that. And I'm actually trying to get back to just water with a little lemon or water with a little lime. That would probably be better for me than all the carbonated water. But so money, if that's a thing for you, I mean, if you're struggling on a budget, oh my gosh, cigarettes and alcohol, why do you think they tax them so much? It's bad. So that twice, and I don't know what it was, I'm like, I've got a headache, like I've got a hangover, and I didn't have a hangover, but I had a headache that reminded me of that. So waking up every morning, and that's another thing you justify. Well, I don't feel that bad today. I have a little headache, but it's not that bad. You start, I remember being at the gym, going to the gym, even though I was, like working off what I did the night before, you
Yeah.
know, so stupid, you know, I don't know why I can't lose this weight,
Right.
you know?
Right.
So I've lost probably 15 pounds. And it didn't just fall off when I was done drinking. I just want to be really clear about that.
Yeah.
I didn't substitute candy for alcohol. That is a thing to be aware of. Your body's going to crave sugar
Yes.
because you are not giving it sugar, fruit, things like that. So I wasn't eating bad, but it was just a combination of age and whatever that it took me, but I did finally lose it. But I don't want to tell anybody who's in their middle to late 50s that you're going to quit drinking and all this weight's going to fall off of you. Maybe it will,
Yeah.
but it didn't for me. Now it has. It's been a year and I'm back down to.
It slides off rather than falling.
Right. It slides off. Yes. I sleep. That was one of my things. Well, especially when I travel. Well, I have to drink when I travel or I won't be able to sleep. I can't sleep when I'm traveling on my own or, you know, blah, blah, blah. I did a lot of traveling. That was a lie that I believed. That probably might have been slightly true, but the reality is alcohol doesn't help you sleep. It helps you go to sleep. It doesn't keep you asleep. I sleep really good now. I sleep really great. I feel great every morning. I have more energy. You know, I mean, I'm pretty vain, so the weight thing was a pretty big thing for me. And I didn't want to be that little old lady that was drunk all the time. You know, I had that picture. I live in a 55 plus community, and I didn't want to be that little old lady.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, that was a thing for me too. But yeah, I feel good. I think I look better. My face isn't as doughy. I don't know what the word is. You know? Definitely, it helps with, you know, wrinkles and all that. Alcohol dries you out, and you know, so yeah. And
What about
I'm just,
emotional stability? Do you feel like you're managing that okay?
I would say that was probably a big thing. Is emotionally, I think I am more stable. I grew up Catholic, and so I'm super good with the guilt and shame thing, you know. And again, I'm not being sarcastic. Well, I guess I am being sarcastic, but I mean that's what we were taught was guilt and shame, you know. And I was really good at it, and so I would literally beat myself up every morning. What is wrong with me? When are you ever going to stop, Lord? Why aren't you taking this away from me? That was a thing too. And I wouldn't say I had a crisis of faith, but I probably had a little mini crisis of faith in that, Lord, I'm praying all the time, why, you know, take this away from me. And he didn't. But I think he was saying, I'm here with you, but you got to do the work. You know, I'll get you through, but you gotta do something. You know, now I think there are people that can say, I prayed about it and it just went away. That was not my story. I'd wake up every day just mad at myself, hating myself, literally hating myself. And if you're hearing this and you know what I'm talking about, I love getting up in the morning and feeling thankful for another day and not angry at myself and hating myself and feeling hopeless. I mean, I think that was the thing that scared me, was when I'm not a depressed person. I've been through a lot of stuff in my life, and I've never really dealt with depression. I know it's a real thing. I would say I've maybe had situational depression, but I've never really dealt with depression. But I was feeling really hopeless. I just didn't think there was ever going to be a way out for me. I was going to be the person that just couldn't do it. And I wish I could tell you what the switch was. It was August 30th. We were in Nebraska and in our travel trailer, and Terry made a comment to me that was on the verge of disappointed, but he never really judged me or anything, but he was also sort of oblivious. And I don't mean to be throwing him under the bus, but if you know my husband, he just was oblivious. He didn't ever really realize how much I was drinking. I could be sitting right next to him. Our joke is I could be naked and on fire, but if the TV was on, you wouldn't notice me. And he said, I would notice if you were naked, you know, because not if I was on fire. Because I could get up 6 times and refill my glass and he wouldn't even notice it.
Right.
Because he just didn't notice it, you know. Right. And so I wish I could remember, and I don't know, maybe that's just God's protection. I don't really want to remember it, but he made some comment to me about the alcohol, like, wow, did you drink that whole bottle or whatever he said? And I'm like, I need to be done with this. And that was the last time I drank.
Yeah.
You know, and I didn't do it for him. I think it was just the catalyst that said, my first marriage ended because my husband started drinking again. And we were not in any danger of that, but I knew how that felt to be, to have him choose alcohol over me. And I'm having this epiphany right now. I didn't want it to go that way.
Right. You didn't want to be that person for Terry.
But that would choose the alcohol over his feelings.
Yeah. So powerful. That's so powerful. I mean, that's a catalyst.
Yeah. And that was it.
Yeah.
I will say, because of all the reading those books and that long journey, I hope anybody that's listening to this realizes your journey does not have to be as long and as hard of a struggle as mine was. Craig Beck says in his book, if you ever find yourself saying just one drink won't hurt, punch yourself in the face as hard as you can, because
heavy duty tapping.
Yeah. Because for me, I can't.
Right.
And maybe you're at that point where you're saying, maybe I can manage it. Maybe I can have just a little, maybe I can just drink once in a while. And if you can do it, yay, you know. I couldn't do that. And when I realized the poison that alcohol was that I was putting in my body, and I'm the only grandma that my grandkids have, that was, I'm like, why would I even want to have one once in a while?
Right.
It's like, why would I'm only going to drink motor oil once in a while, you know, and for me, and that just sticks in my head.
Yes.
I don't want to do that, you know? And so that was a big thing, was the starting and stopping. I hope you know, everybody has to experiment. Everybody has to push the envelope, is what I'm finding as I talk to people. And they say, you know what, I drank over the weekend and I'm really sorry I did. And I can now realize why I don't want to do it anymore. I hope you learn it faster than I did, you know, that maybe it's not something that you want to do. So,
well, and I think people have, just like we had as drinkers and caregivers, that entitlement that we deserved something. I really want to emphasize to people that you deserve to wake up tomorrow and be alcohol free. And you don't have to attach yourself to a label like alcoholic. You know, don't get too hung up on the rhetoric.
right.
But you are worthy and you are enough and you are whole and you are deserving.
Yes.
I'm also a Christian woman and believe, I have it right here, I am a child of God who lives up to the potential he put in me. And I read that every day. So wherever you are on your faith journey, I want people to understand that they deserve this. They deserve to be a non-drinker and explore it. And you know what? What if in the whole great span of your life, you do it for 5 or 17 years, and then as an adult, you make a decision to no longer do it? That is a choice, right?
Right.
I like the idea of questioning, exploring, resourcing, and knowing that you're worth it. You're worth the effort. It doesn't have to come from an external source.
Right. And I think that is important. It doesn't have to, it has to, I really think, and you know, everybody says, oh, you have to do it for you. It's true. You have to say, I'm worth this, you know, and letting yourself feel everything, I think is really important. Is when you get up in the morning, how do you feel? Do you have a headache? Do you feel bloated? Do you feel that awful cotton mouth and wine? That if you're a wine drinker, there's I don't know what the word is for that thing in your mouth after you drink wine. Brush your teeth, Listerine, water pick, I don't care. It's still morning wine mouth, you know. Start asking yourself, how do I feel? You know, how do I feel about this? How am I feeling right now? You know, when you're slogging through your day, how am I feeling? I don't slog through my day anymore. I am more active than I've ever been. I get up stupid early. I get up at 4:30 usually every morning. And So I do take naps, it's a thing here in Sun City West, we take naps, but I don't
took a
take a
nap
nap
today too.
because, yeah, I don't take naps because I feel like crap.
Right.
I take naps because I'm tired, because I've done a lot, and then I get up and do a lot more, So yeah, wherever anybody is, I think that I love what you're saying. Just explore it. And today may be your day, and maybe it'll be next week. But Annie Grace's book, This Naked Mind, and Craig Beck's book, Alcohol Lied to Me, even if you don't really feel like you want to quit, I would still say, listen, read those books. If you're not a reader, just get the audiobook. I think you even watch a lot of his stuff on YouTube. Annie Grace, I think so too. Just learn, just be a student of what it is. And then you can make an informed decision. Is this something I want in my life or not? But I think once you learn about it, you'll be able to make the decision a lot easier than if the police or a judge or your husband or somebody is telling you this is it,
Your kids.
or your kids. Oh my gosh, I have a friend who said, my kids tell me all the time they wish they didn't drink.
Yeah.
That hurts my heart.
Yeah. And really, when alcohol is the go-to as the crutch for caregivers to get through the experience, I just want to emphasize that without the alcohol, you have new tools that are healthier and you stabilize. Like the swings aren't as bad and your coping capacity and mechanisms are so much stronger. So you don't even need to numb it out because you're so much more even and able to just keep going through it.
I agree. I mean, I did have a stint of sobriety there toward the end before Mitzi died, and it was much easier to deal with everything because I could think clearly. Everybody says, "Oh, I think so clearly now." It's true.
Yeah.
And it's kind of nice to sit next to my husband and actually know what we watched on TV the night before.
Right.
He's not having to explain it all to me,
Right. 100%. Well, this I think is so powerful and it really is so helpful. And I'm so really grateful that we reconnected and you were willing to share your story.
Thanks.
Because I really think I'm confident that someone is going to hear this and walk away and make a change. I really believe that.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so.
And they're taking care of someone that they love and they want to rise to the occasion and not feel burnt out on it. So you're going to be helping that person too.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that realization of I need to be sober to be able to take care of her, in the middle of the night or whatever was a big one.
Yeah.
So, well, thanks.
Thank you so much. I'll send you the link.
That would be great.
All right. We will talk soon.
Thanks. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.